This year, the Oldest Profession podcast is producing the Old Pro Project to celebrate the anniversary of the first sex worker-led protest in the U.S. To learn more, listen to our episode, Why January 25th Matters. Follow the hashtag OldProProject and go to our website, theoldestprofessionpodcast.com/OPP for Old Pro Project.
Welcome to the Peepshow podcast.
News and stories from the sex industry.
With Jessie and PJ Sage. Welcome back to another episode of the Peepshow podcast. This week is going to be a very fun episode because we are talking to jet-setting Jasmine and King Noire about being a couple in the industry. PJ and I talk with them about what it's like to run a family and a business and a sex work career together. So stay tuned. Is there enough kink and flirtation in your life right now? Aorta Films creates lusty, opulent, glorious fuckery. Their films are full of beautifully shot, super hot queer porn featuring a large range of bodies, identities, kinks, and dynamics. This month, check out Aorta's newest release, Pink Lemonade, featuring Daemonum X and Scarlet. Good dollies should be seen and not heard. So why does Scarlet go looking for trouble during a service session with Daddy Daemonum X? One misdeed calls for a spanking, and a second warrants reprogramming. Could this have been what Scarlet wanted all along? $9 a month on Patreon gets you full access to Aorta's library of 60-plus short and feature films, with a new film released on the first of each month. Or back them at the $17 a month level and get a download of that month's film delivered straight to your inbox. Check them out at aortafilms.com.
Hey, I'm Adrian, one of the hosts of After Adult Podcast. My porn name should be Mozart Fremont, but you probably know me better by my actual porn name, Siri.
I'm Rachel, but my porn name would be Woody 16th Avenue.
After Adult is a podcast about life and porn.
I don't actually watch porn.
I don't really watch that much porn either. I probably watch more than you, but I mean, most of the time it kind of would feel like going to work on my day off.
You 100% watch more than me, because I don't watch porn. Find us wherever you get your podcasts. Just search for After Adult.
Or visit afteradult.com and follow us on Instagram at afteradult.
We are here today with jet-setting Jasmine and King Noire. King and Jasmine are 3-time award-winning adult film stars and have dedicated their craft to creating a more inclusive and ethically sound adult entertainment industry. Jasmine's a licensed clinical therapist, owner of Blue Pearl Therapy, with a strong emphasis on intimacy post-injury, trauma and intimacy post-illness. And King Noire, who's also known as Hassan Salam, is an international human rights activist, hip-hop musician, and well known for his work building a freshwater well and school in Guinea-Bissau, West Africa. Together they own Royal Fetish Films, where their love of art, film, and sex education are combined to produce erotica that stimulates and engages the audience to push their sexual boundaries. Jasmine and King share over 20 years of experience as adult film entertainers, educators, and master fetish trainers. So welcome. You guys have so much going on.
So much that we can't even edit that bio down.
Yeah, I'm so excited to talk to you two because we have been doing, what did you say, PJ? Is this our 80th episode?
This is number 80.
Yeah, this is our 80th episode, and we've never talked to a couple in the industry, and we are a couple in the industry, so we're so excited to hear about how you two have like interwoven your careers, because that's not super common in this industry.
It isn't, or at least it isn't talked about super openly. So we're really excited to be having a conversation with a couple as well that's in the industry. It's just nice to have that community within community.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about yourselves and I want to hear how you guys got together. How long have you been together? How long have you been working together?
It was a cold, rainy night in Paris.
Neither one of us were there.
I hope that's the real story. Okay.
I wish. We have both been to Paris, but never together. So it's been like on my list of places that I have to go with Jasmine. and
Yeah.
then COVID. But
Yeah.
actually, I have been in the industry since I was 18.
Oh, wow.
Um, I started off doing BDSM and cuckolding, and then got into being in magazines and like local films in New York and New Jersey.
Wow.
And oof, then I got out of the industry for a while, and once I came back into it, Jasmine had a podcast called The Emotion Picture
Mm-hmm.
with Brother Victorious and Shy Stimuli, and I was the adult entertainer that Victorious knew, other than
Oh.
Cinnamon Love. So they
Wow.
wanted to do what it was like to be a sex worker, adult entertainer, and what dating was like.
Mm-hmm.
So Jasmine, that was the first time we had ever interacted. And
Wow. She
the
interviewed you
first
about
question
being a sex worker?
About dating a sex
about dating
worker.
a sex worker.
Whoa.
That's a good
Yeah.
story. That's
So
even
it
better
was,
than Paris.
yeah. It was almost like a hip hop version of Without Chuck Woolery or The Love Connection or something like that. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? She got to ask me all the questions because you hadn't seen me yet either,
No,
right?
I had no
So I was like
idea.
behind the curtain.
And I had no interest in seeing you because I was like, oh, like we're going to talk to some porn star and they're going to tell us how hard it is to love people and for people to love them, blah, blah. You know, like I was just like, I'm just going to talk to this guest. And that was 10 years ago.
Oh my
That was a horrible way
gosh.
to get on an interview with
It
somebody.
was.
I'm
It
glad I
was.
didn't know that's how
But
you felt.
the whole show was about us. You know that I've since changed my mind.
No, I mean I know that. I mean, but it's funny because the first question that Jasmine asked me was, "How do you not have AIDS?"
Or how do you not contract AIDS? I probably use at least a little better grammar than that. We'll have to look.
Yeah, I need to go back to the videotape on that one.
Okay, that's fine.
I need an instant replay.
But that was, so the whole show was about like exploring all of these different aspects of sex and sexuality and relationships. And I was using this show as my like, like I need to have answers to these questions and talk to these people and prove my preconceived notions about
Yeah.
them. And
Mm-hmm.
I got off of that damn call like everything that I've ever known is wrong. And now I need to fuck him.
Wow.
That's pretty
So
amazing,
how long
actually.
did
It
it
kind of
take you
speaks to the
to-
power of podcasts, huh?
I do a good interview.
Yeah.
Don't worry though, you know what I'm saying? I know when to dial it back.
But
Yeah.
PJ, you're right. It does speak to it really does speak to the power of podcasting. I don't know if that's where you were going,
Yeah.
but I haven't turned a podcast down since.
No, what's so funny about that is that people often in all of the interviews that I get asked to go on, people always ask me because I'm just so much more like visible as a woman, like, oh, what does PJ think about your work and how does he deal with that? And in our life too, he was camming before I even knew what camming was. Like I was introduced to the sex industry through him. and it's
getting more and more alike every
I
time.
know. Yeah. And I had kind of a similar experience, except I was an academic who was doing like feminist philosophy, and all the feminist philosophy, not all of them, but a vast majority of them went on and on about how terrible the sex industry is and how all women who are in the sex industry are exploited or they're living under false consciousness or whatever. And then I met him and he knew a ton of cam models because he was working. And I was like, wait, these people don't seem exploited. They seem like they're making their own choices. And I also had this experience. It didn't happen in a day. It happened slower than that. But like where I was like, wait, I don't think that they know what they're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
Word.
Mm-hmm. And it's interesting that you say that because when we met, I was just kind of coming out of my master's program in gerontology and was practicing as a clinical therapist. And it's the same thing in that world. It is very very much kind of like we call it now the hierarchy,
Yeah.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And you really are you learn that learn that people in certain industries are helpless or hopeless or destitute.
Yeah.
And so I was, coming into my own sex and sexuality with all of all that messaging about women and what relationships are supposed to look like and what's respectable and what isn't. And
Yeah.
this show was challenging me every single week to think about love, sex, relationships, body types, all kinds of things, and from a very, very different perspective. And then meeting King, who had this, really, really vast experience, like just vast experiences in general. And he was
Yeah.
doing everything from, philanthropy, he was doing human rights work, he was doing kink stuff. And I was just so fascinated. And I learned from that very first question that he had more of a handle on his sexual health and well-being than most of the men that I knew that
Yeah.
were his
Mm-hmm.
age and could, talk to me about testing and STIs and STDs and the sex industry being much safer than the civilian world. So
Yeah.
that conversation shook everything up. And as soon as I got to a computer, I was like, okay, now I want to see what he looks like.
And was that the moment that you were like, okay, well, I've changed everything?
Everything changed. Like, screw all the respectability politics. How do I get in, get further into this world? And I'd already been doing like poll parties because 10 years ago, poll for 50 Shades of Grey had come out, right around that time.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it was a little bit more open for women to be having, these conversations pushing sexual boundaries. So I was hosting toy parties and poll parties, and we put our heads together to think, to develop a model that would allow women to enjoy. King was doing erotic touch massages, and I wanted women to be able to tell men how they wanted to be touched. I wanted them to be able to explore their bodies on their terms with a
Wait. So let me back up for a minute.
I heard like the record scratch. I heard that, and because I know that Jessie's mind was just like exploding when you said erotic touch massage.
So tell me, like, you do erotic massage?
I do actually.
Because that's what we just need to do that for the whole rest of the hour. No, I'm just. I actually do want to hear about it.
No, it's really interesting because kind of like how Jasmine is just saying, like, kind of like exploring your sexuality and knowing all this. So coming from the hip hop world, that's not. I mean, maybe recently, because a couple of artists have come out, or at least said that they're allies and things like that. But when I was coming up in underground hip hop, exploring your sexuality in any direction was just always, it's like you have sex one way and it's the rap way. You know what I'm saying? So it's very much like coming from, like, I financed my first album, like the recording of my first album, from sex work.
Wow. Yeah.
But at and on my first mixtape, I talked, like, I let people know, like, there's pictures of my dick all over the internet, all this kind of shit. You know what I'm saying? Because I didn't want nobody coming at me, because most of my music is very, it deals with, politics and hood politics, So people finding out that I did porn in any way, or it was in BDSM and all this other kind of stuff, always led to like really awkward, strange, weird conversations that you really don't want to have with people in general, but especially not people who are like extra posturing during that time.
Yeah.
So I started working in my community, doing some work, working with youth in my neighborhood that was coming out of, like the youth house or different things like that. So I had to leave sex work for a while because, those two things don't match.
Yeah.
Well, they match, but it would, in the sense of like, if society doesn't.
Oh, right.
Doesn't
Yeah.
that, right?
Yeah.
So when I came back, I was asked by a friend to dance at a party because they knew I did porn. They were like, we need a dancer for a party. And I was like, sure, I would love to do it, but I need to do it in my own way. And I found that most like male strip shows and things like that were really just like men's fantasies of what they would want a woman to want if they came to see them dance.
Yeah.
Instead of actually being what women actually want.
Right.
So
get your sweaty balls off my neck.
Yeah, not everybody wants your dick on their shoulder.
Right,
You know what I'm saying?
Like you did dance. That's what I'm
Yeah,
here
like
for.
I want to see some dick tricks. I don't want it on my shoulder.
Yeah.
I watch it. You know, so I asked a lot of my friends at the time, like, what would be sexy to you? What would you enjoy? And a lot of the women I know were like, yo, you're really good with your hands, and I like the way, like, I've always kind of done massages with body press. So I came up with a way to kind of like, for private dances, it was like a private dance massage, erotic, all
Oh
these
my
things mixed
God.
together. I worked with a friend of mine. She's a Reiki. She learned
Mm-hmm.
Reiki directly from a Reiki master, and was teaching me about Reiki. So it was entertainment, but also about you know, exploration. And there was, we did like
The different
sensory
packages. Yeah.
deprivation and
Wow.
Exactly.
impact play and made
Food.
people into a Sunday, but all on the massage table, all dancing and all of that. So, like at that time, I was doing private parties in New York when Jasmine interviewed me, and
Mm-hmm.
it was starting to blow up. Like people were like, "Yo, this rapper Hassan Salam be like, stripping and doing parties and these massages," and it was really like there were people who would be like, "I was at your last show, and I also want to come see you strip." So like it was really like
Yeah.
making waves in New York and New Jersey, and then I was like, I want to do more. So when we met, it was kind of like it was perfect
Yeah.
because Jasmine was like, I'm teaching this, and I need a man who's willing to openly answer questions.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
And since I do that anyway, like my music is an open book of my life, so I have nothing to hide. So let's do it. And
Yeah.
like we started traveling the country and then traveling the world with our fantasy flight parties, and
That's
people started saying, "Hey,
amazing.
when are you gonna make porn again?"
Mhm.
Because primarily most of the women at our events were black women between the ages of 25 and 45 who were like, I do not see myself in porn
Yeah.
or anyone who looks like me, or
Mm-hmm.
I don't feel respected when I watch it.
Mm-hmm.
And we were like, we'll do it. Fine.
Yeah. Yeah. Make
And
the porn
Jazz
you want
made
to
her
see in the world,
silver
right?
debut.
Yeah.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love how much you're talking about like openness and listening and like sort of in terms of these parties, kind of like reaching out to people and asking them what they want and using that as kind of part of your creative process of figuring out how you're going to do these performances. And it sounds like the same thing with making porn, kind of hearing from people what's missing and, thinking about how to represent that. And I just think, it's worth like dwelling on that for a moment because that's just seems like really powerful and interesting,
Mm-hmm.
how much that theme kind of kept coming up there.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. I think, so much of one of the things that King and I would see quite often, and we see this with adult stars too, and this is kind of how we have shaped a lot of our model at Royal Fetish Films, is that so often people are used to doing what they've seen or what they've been told is
Mm-hmm.
what they should do versus what feels good, what feels right, or what they are actually interested in exploring. And I remember when we first started doing the massages at the parties, King would like, we'd have like this menu of different things that they could try, and they'd be like, I don't know, and I would say, like, well, where do you want him to touch you? Like, I don't know, wherever he normally touches,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
um, and so really, really like kind of, like pushing and I guess using those Dom skills to
Yeah.
get them and empower them to, no, I really want you to think about this. And if you are, do you want to be spanked with feathers or do you want to be spanked with spikes? Right. And
Yeah.
um,
Yeah.
really helping people find their voice. And the same thing when it comes to working with other film stars with our production company. It's a lot of people have been casted or typecasted in our industry based off of the stereotype of their look, not based
Mm-hmm.
off of their
Hmm.
sexual pleasures
Mm.
or their
Yeah.
preferences. And so, when we get a chance to shoot with someone, we might say like, oh, like Jesse, what do you enjoy? What do you
Mm-hmm.
enjoy doing? And instead of saying this is what I enjoy or this is what I would like to do or how I'd like to see myself on film, we usually hear, well, I normally get booked for,
Hmm.
you know,
Interesting. Yeah.
which is very different than what I would like to create, right now. And so, if you take a look at our royal fetish catalog, you'll, see some of our favorites doing things that they've been on screen for like 20 years, but have
Wow.
never done some of the things that they really would like to explore doing, from Sarah J, Angelina, Misty Stone, trying
Lethal
some of
Lips.
Lethal Lips, trying some of their first fetish experiences.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
On
You
our
know
set.
what's
All
really
because we asked them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just asking.
You know what's interesting to me about that is I've had like a different sort of experience, which is that like I've only really made stuff that I felt like making that seemed like organic to my own like sexuality. But I'm independent, so I can do that. And I've had people,
But less
like,
so in cam shows, right? So you have had that other experience.
Yeah. But like in my clips, and I've had people who follow my OnlyFans or who've gotten everything that I have, who've pointed out like what they're not seeing, as if like that's weird because I'm supposed to have it because everybody else has it, and
Mm-hmm.
and they'll be like, because for example, I mean, this is super specific, but like I don't like facials. I don't want things like like coming at my face, and so I've just never done them because it's just not something I'm into. Like I don't really like it, and people are like, well, how come nobody comes on your face? And I'm like, I don't know, because I'm not into it. Like, I don't know. I just don't.
Where are your videos sleeping with other men? And I'm like, I have lots of them. I'm pegging all of them, but we're in a horizontal position, and they're like, I only want to see you sleeping with a man that's not your husband. And I'm like, oh wow, okay, well, hang out for that one. Or I'll send them the links to the ones of me pegging, and they're like, that's not what I meant.
Right. Yeah. But it's interesting to me that people have these like very specific scripts, and they're like, well, you just didn't do this thing. And I'm like, well, but there's lots of places to come. You don't have to come. Like, why should I do this one thing? There's so many different things that people can do. And I think it's interesting that just simply like doing the sorts of things in porn that you want to do in your own life, like that throws people off a little bit, I think.
Absolutely.
I also find that, and this is also kind of like going back to the massages. Like I remember there was this one woman who, she came out of the room and she was floating and all of that, and everybody's like, well, what happened? What did you do? And everybody's mind went to one place, and it was like, he just massaged my forearms. Like, and I mean, like, we had this conversation about, pressure areas in her body, and she typed a lot. So, she has some tight ass forearms, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
but it's also like, it's a part of your body that also you do not get touched sensually, and it doesn't get kisses. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't get blown on or wax or chocolate.
Yeah.
Nobody thinks like chocolate strawberries on the forearm. And
Yeah.
this is somebody whose forearms are put to a lot of work. So she got them, they got the royal treatment, right?
Yeah.
And I think it's the same thing when people watch porn too. It's because people are so indoctrinated to think one way. The only way that I could see Jasmine have sex with another man is if that man is penetrating her.
Right.
You know how many
Right.
ways there are to have sex? You know what I'm saying? Like,
so many. Yeah.
there's so many different combinations and variations and different ways to experience somebody. Just like, we have scenes where I might not bust a nut.
Yeah.
I might have a internal orgasm, but I might not physically
ejaculate.
Yeah.
That's the word I was looking for, right? So, but people will be like, that scene was great, but you didn't come. And then it's like, well, I mean, I did have an orgasm, or even if I didn't, like, sex don't always only ends when a man ejaculates.
Right.
Right.
So it's like people have this perception that it only happens one way, and things always have to happen one way. And it's important to expand your knowledge and expand your experiences, because think of all the pleasure that you're missing out on because shit doesn't fall into the two lanes that you know of.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, and a lot of it is true that a lot of the porn that we see, at least like that comes out of, mainstream studios, does, follow those sort of, I don't know, rigid scripts. And so I think it is powerful when people represent the alternatives, when they make that available for people to see.
Yeah, I
That's
think
what we're here for.
yeah. Yeah, so I wanted to ask you guys a little bit about how working together impacts your like the sort of interactions that you have with clients. And I ask that because for me, in a lot of the work that I do, even though most of it I do by myself, most of my like one-on-one interactions with clients I do them on my own, but PJ seems to get like integrated and brought into a lot of them by my clients, like themselves, because because they know who he is and they know that I'm married, and they, and there's a lot of bi-curiosity and there's a lot of things like that. But it's interesting to me that like, he always laughs because I'll be like taking night flirt calls or doing something like that. And he's like, "Oh, are you guys like fucking me again?" Like walk in and I'm like, "Yeah, we always are." He's like, "Great, glad I could be of service," and it's just interesting because I feel like a lot of people who follow me and who want to interact with me actually want to interact with both of us. And I don't know that I would have expected that, when I started this, if I didn't always, like, all of the work I've done has been like since I've met him. And so I've always been, in a partnership as a sex worker. So I was curious, like, if you've had similar sorts of experiences or what those look like.
Yeah, there are a couple of really, I think it sometimes falls on me to get really interesting, because I'm also a therapist and I see a lot of people in our industry or that come to the practice because they know that we are, a very open, couple, and they're looking for that level of transparency in their provider.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But some little strange thing. Well, I don't know if they're strange. This is different for me. It's like, we'll be having a therapeutic session and someone will say like, "Oh, is that King on your bookshelf?" And it's like, can we focus? Can we focus? Or even bringing up, my relationship in the context a bit of like, oh, well, not everyone can have a polyamorous relationship,
Yeah.
and
Mm-hmm.
it's kind of like you don't know the inner workings of our relationship, and we should not be by any means comparing my my relationship to yours. Like, let's stay focused.
Yeah.
That, or people like even clients that maybe want to book a one-on-one, sex work clients that want to book a one-on-one session with me, they'll say like, "Is this okay with your husband?"
Yeah,
Oh,
that's
wow.
interesting. Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I need to kind of either they need to know that they have his permission or that I have run it through, and I understand some of that is either a part of their fantasy or
Mm-hmm.
it is out of respect for whatever they kind of think of our relationship, and
Mm-hmm.
they want to make sure that they are not causing any problems to a relationship that they model or that they respect. So
Yeah.
it is
Mm-hmm.
really interesting, and just kind of providing that reassurance and quickly redirecting to, I'm working with you, you're working with me, let's go.
Yeah. Yeah.
If you're worried
Yeah.
about him, you can pay his rate and ask him.
No, I'm not okay with you. I'm not okay with that. I find with clients who book me at times for like private fetish training sessions and things like that. I definitely have had clients who I guess think that maybe I don't tell Jasmine
Mm.
that I do this work on the side. That's the like
Yeah, I
I
get
don't
that
I mean
too.
I'm like Las Vegas with everything else. Like I don't share your business and stuff like that. But my partner does know that I have private clients or private fetish clients. And my partner
Yeah.
knows I do porn too, you know what I'm saying? So it's like it's
Right.
funny sometimes when people are like, "Are you sure this is okay?" Like, yeah, I'm flogging you. We're fine. It's
Yeah.
are
I
you
get
okay?
that when I'm
You
on
know?
cam and people are like, "Does your husband know?" And I'm like, "How do you think this is happening? We're in like quarantine." Yes.
He's literally sitting underneath me right now.
Yeah, I think that's interesting that there's to me it like some of it's just fantasy, I think. Like, oh, it would be exciting if this was, on the down low thing. But a lot of it, I think,
or
me,
if we got caught, right? If he walked in on us. Or
yeah. But to me, like what I read into a lot of that is that there's like so much fear about being like honest with your partner. And a lot of people are coming at it as I couldn't actually talk to my partner about something like this. So like, I feel like a lot of it is like
disbelief
implicit,
or something.
Or I think it's like almost like implicit questions that they don't want to ask outright about like how you get to a place where you can have that level of openness.
Word. That makes sense. But
I don't
it's
know.
cool. It's cool. I think I also think it happens also like if there's an interest in somebody and it's not work. And I'm talking to somebody and they're like, well, does your wife know? Like
Mm-hmm.
if it's personal, then yeah, like she knows your name. She knows who you are.
Yeah.
We discussed this. It's
Yeah.
okay. Like I am in an open polyamorous relationship. You know,
Mm-hmm.
no one's gonna come key your car.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like whatever the fear is or hesitation. But I know also a lot of people have experienced liars in this world.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
so there is a certain part that I do have to always remember, like, yeah, I live this way. I've been in this relationship for how long I've been in it. So there's certain like, oh yeah, the world is great. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? But there are people out there who have experienced some really, really fucked up shit in
Yeah.
regards to relationships and trust issues and things like that. So I have to let them know, like, it's okay. Like, if you want to check in with Jasmine to make sure that I'm not lying, like, I'm okay with that. Let me give her a heads up to know, you know what I'm saying? Like, that you're
Yeah.
going to reach out. And both of us actually pretty much prefer somebody to reach out and be like, hey, you know, I'm somebody that talks to your significant other. I have no problem with you, or I like
Yeah.
you too, or whatever the fuck. Like it just
Yeah.
it
Mm-hmm.
makes the world better when everything is out on the table.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And I think that that's like that still, I think in our culture, I think this is changing a little bit, but still it's like very countercultural. And so I think that a lot of people can't conceptualize their relationships working in that way.
Thanks for joining us today. Jessie and I are dedicated to platforming sex worker voices and covering important political issues for those in the sex trades. But we can't do it without your help.
If you believe in our mission, find us at patreon.com/Peepshow podcast and show us some love.
We're also seeking advertisers to help us grow. Thanks for helping us make Peepshow happen.
What's your favorite thing about working together? What do you guys enjoy doing the most together?
All of it.
All of it. Creating. I enjoy performing together. I enjoy. We've worked with each other since we've met each other.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
Mm-hmm.
it's hard to kind of go. There was never a time that we weren't a work part. We didn't have a work partnership. Actually, we had that first before we had a romantic partnership. So I can't imagine not working together on something, even if we, leave the industry. That part of our relationship has to maintain, in my opinion, look, King is like,
You gonna leave the industry?
huh? Don't worry. Whenever we do,
No, I'm just messing
when
with
we're
you.
working together, even that. Sometimes I think like, well, if I leave the industry, like, can I manage your career? Like things like some of the best moments that we have had together have been creating our brand.
Mm-hmm.
Helping each other fulfill our goals with our sex work, our other work. The music we team up on aspects of that with therapy. King is definitely a huge sounding board and support and helps me strategize. There's so many ways that even in the things that we do as individuals, we are like our number one consultant to each other.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I very much feel like we're like that too. And it's the same thing. We've always worked together our whole relationship. So when people are like, how do you manage the sex work part of your relationship and the romantic part of your relationship? And that's like actually a weird question to me because our whole lives are so intertwined that I don't I don't know. It's not so compartmentalized like that to me.
No. You were thinking?
Oh yeah, I'm actually editing a scene right now. We did like a documentary film while we were shooting a scene where Jasmine is directing a scene with me, Redhead Barbie, and Zelina Divine with an all-woman production team.
Wow, cool.
And so like I'm editing it, like right now I'm just kind of like organizing everything and going through the clips and the scenes and everything. And I was just like turned on all over again because Jasmine is like she's a really, really dope director.
Yeah.
And like when we shoot, and this was like the only scene where Jasmine directed and I wasn't doing anything on the production side of things. So I was like just a performer.
Yeah.
So it was like being even more relaxed in the sense of like, okay, I don't got to worry about lighting and camera and all this other stuff right now. So it was really just being able to be a performer and how good she is as a director. And it's like now I'm able to also, because I'm going through the scenes, like I'm listening to her talk to the camera woman
Mm-hmm.
and hearing her be like, "Yeah, I want you to follow that bead of sweat all the way down from his body down to her toes." And I was like, "Oh shit!" She did say that. She did say that. I was like, "Oh, she's following beads of my sweat." So like, you know, what I'm saying? So like, and then other times we've worked together. Like we have 3 scenes that we worked together that won awards. You know what I'm saying? So it's like
Mm-hmm.
not only do we get to work together, but like people recognize our work together as being something that needs to be seen, you know? Like
Yeah.
I usually handle like I've wanted to be a cinematographer forever. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Like that was like one of my childhood dreams. So I'm doing that now. And Jazz is just a really, really good director of people, period. So
Yeah.
like two of those things coming together, it's like it's such a turn on for me to be able to work with my partner in that way. And then just as Jasmine said, like we've expanded it to things that we worked on before we knew each other. Like I
Yeah.
trust Jasmine's opinion. So when I'm in the studio, I like her to be there. Like just like, you know, like there's my brothers that's been in the studio with me, you know, since I started recording.
Mm-hmm.
And Jazz is right in there with all of them, like, nah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Do this, you know what I'm saying? Like just fits in the same with all of us the same way. And I value her attention to detail and her creativity and being able to do that with somebody that you love and make love to is like some
Mm-hmm.
next level shit.
Ooh,
Yeah. Yeah, that's Do you how's it been for you all like during COVID? How's that shifted and changed how you've had to work together or what the dynamic is like?
24/7 now.
We don't get no break.
So under normal circumstances, we travel probably about 2 weeks, 2 weeks a month.
Wow.
And normally we may like leave together, and then we'll work for a week, and then I'll come home and King will stay at that location and like continue shooting or working in a dungeon. And
Yeah.
then we'll meet up in the next city. So we're always balancing family life and travel. But what's interesting is like, when we travel and like we get that hotel room, you know what I mean? Like we get that break from the kids and the routine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like we can make a mess and there'll be fresh towels. Like we
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
we
Yeah.
miss the towels so much. And now we don't have the opportunity to create that kind of space from the kids, and also that like week apart that we would be away from each other while one of us is in another city and the other one is home. We don't have that space from one another either.
Yeah.
So it's like we've had to take what used to be like a good chunk of time to be able to kind of like reset, get into your own mind for a little while, and get together, and then we get together as a team, and then we get with the larger team, the family.
Yeah.
We're having to find like little moments here and there to find some peace. At the beginning of the quarantine or at the
Mm-hmm.
beginning of the pandemic, we sat down as a family and all kind of asked each other like, "What do you need to survive this?"
Yeah.
And King was like, I need to be able to work out. And what was mine? I need to be able to like walk, or I need
and
and
build this forest.
oh yeah, my patio. That's all over the house.
Jasmine has built an enchanted forest on our patio.
Oh.
Yeah, I told them that's what I needed to survive, and here we are. So we, created some boundaries within our own home,
Mm-hmm.
to be able to somehow recreate the amount of space and the amount of closeness. With
Yeah.
that same creativity of working, we've turned a couple of rooms in the house into potential spaces for us to shoot. We've pivoted our business to be completely online. Like, we have still been able to exercise some of the things that we love so much of working with each other, which is being creative, thinking on the fly, and respecting each other's like creative space, workspace, and also personal space. And it's been a challenge because it's been very stressful.
Yeah.
This is not just
Mm-hmm.
like we're not traveling this year. It's like we're not
Yeah.
traveling this year because you can't. We're not
Right.
traveling this year because of all the many reasons it's not safe
Yeah.
to. Um, it's been challenging not seeing some of our like individual favorite people
Right.
or our other partners, but we're managing, and we're managing to the point that we are continuing to prioritize our family and our safety over any type of like excitement that might be on the other side of the walls of this house.
Yeah.
Is there excitement out there? Are y'all going out? What's going on out there besides
Yeah.
a whole civil war?
Yeah. Yeah. I know. I feel like our experience has been really similar, but I actually really like what you say in terms of like, because I think when we talk about like quarantining with our family, we often talk about like not having enough space, but I also like that you talk about not having enough like closeness too, because there isn't that like time that you can, be in a hotel room together, or even like sit in a restaurant without the kids together, or even like finish a conversation. And so I like this idea of both like creating space, but also like creating moments of like closeness too, so that you can have the kind of ebb and flow that you have in your regular life when there's no ebb and flow to like waking up and going to bed, in the same place every single day and not leaving that space.
Yes, yes, exactly.
Yeah. Yeah, it's I think that there's a lot of ways in which like we're all lucky to be able to know how to make a living from, our bedrooms or our living rooms or wherever it is that we're doing our work, but also it creates other sorts of challenges.
Absolutely. I feel very incredibly, incredibly fortunate. And for those of us who are quarantined with a partner that you know and trust, and you don't have to worry about, multiple tests and days of quarantine, like we are, that much more fortunate to be able to create a variety of content because we're here together.
Normally, what does your days look like? So I know, Jasmine, you're a therapist, and King, you work on music and other projects as well. Like, how do you split up all of your time and negotiate that?
So a typical day looks like, if everything is going as planned, which that never
Yeah.
happens. So, okay.
Your
If
idealized schedule. What does that look like?
I realize that, right, what's written on the refrigerator is, usually I take the early morning shift with the little one, and so like breakfast and a pamper change is like if we could get that done before I have my first client, then we are off to a great day.
Yeah.
And he takes over the baby at around like 11 in the morning, right? Around 10,
Hmm.
about 10 or 11. I do a check-in on the teenager that is homeschooling,
Yeah.
and then I get on with clients, and King is doing all the education, the outdoor activities, the sports. He's got virtual school going down there, after school programming, everything.
Oh my
That
gosh. Wow. Look at you.
Yes. And that goes on till about 5 or 6 in the evening. You usually get a break when the teenager is done with school. So she kind of takes over for
Couple hours.
a couple hours so he can get his workout in,
Nice. Yeah.
business hours stuff. And then at around like 6 or 7 o'clock, I switch out of therapy. We kind of do a hybrid of dinner and the news and the catching up of everybody at around
Mm-hmm.
that time. And then I'm with the kids for the latter portion of the evening, kind of like the bedtime routine of sorts, if that's a thing.
Yeah.
I'm using the word routine very loosely. And then King gets to work all night.
That's when I edit, hop on my cam shows,
Yeah.
and catch up on business and things like that.
Yeah.
And then I try to sneak in some like solo shoots and customs and things like that. Usually on the weekend.
Yeah.
When we can either have one of the girls or the grandmas take the little ones out the house, or I can, sneak up into the camera while they're doing something downstairs. So yeah, I have learned one thing though during quarantine: don't try to shoot customs during football.
No. If the Steelers are playing, all of your fans will hear me cursing at the TV in the background.
Yes, I had to put a whole music track over my because I was like, I am not redoing this. I know that I'm not. I cannot redo that. But I also cannot hear him and a 2-year-old yelling, "Yeah, go Steelers!"
That's too funny.
That's the next one. I've actually had to learn how to change how I watch football because my son, he's 2, and he's definitely a sponge for words he shouldn't say.
Yes.
Now I have a very PG way of watching the team, and I know when to go outside and yell if I need to.
Been our pretty much our balance between home life and balancing kind of like the vanilla work, yeah, I guess therapy, the vanilla work, the family, school, and work.
Yeah, how does your family interact with your like work? So you have your parents who come and like help with the little one. Do they support the work that you guys are doing?
Oh yeah, they support us fully. King's mom is definitely more open to talking about the kind of work that we do. I mean, of course, without getting into like the details that you don't want to know about your son, daughter in love, but we're able to say really openly, like, oh, we have some shooting to get done this week. My mom is more on the conservative end of things. She respects that we have to work. She knows that she doesn't want to know or need to know all of the details. And she really does like the lifestyle that we're able to create for our family. So she definitely does not interfere with our ability to maintain this lifestyle.
Yeah. And really that's like probably good enough. If you can just have somebody who's not like fighting against you being able to do that, then
No,
yeah,
absolutely not. We definitely feel supported by our family. Our kids are completely in the know about the work that we do, and we're able to share with them age appropriately when we need like a certain level of privacy in the house, or we're doing interviews and things like that. So we have a really I call our family a sex positive household. We are. Everyone is living freely without making anyone feel uncomfortable.
Yeah.
That's kind of like the best feeling.
Yeah, that is the best. I mean, I think our family very much runs like that too. And, our kids know what we do. We don't talk, a ton to them about it, but it was funny because, I mean, we do insofar as like they know what we do and they know we run this podcast. And, but it was funny the other day because my 15-year-old son said something recently where we were just talking in the kitchen. And what I find is interesting is that like our openness makes them very open, but more than I expect sometimes, And so like he comes and he's like, oh, we were talking about when we kind of came out to them and told them what we were doing, because at one point we did that. And his he said, yeah, I remember that. And then he was like, I remember wondering if like when you do phone sex, do you guys just like open the ringer or open the line and then let people listen to you have sex? And I was like, I don't know. I was surprised that he asked it like that. And I was like, that's not like exactly how that goes. But, sometimes kind of. Not always just like that. It was just funny, like the way that he asked that in such a nonchalant way. It was much more like a mechanical question that didn't have anything to do with like the stigma or ways in which other people who haven't grown up in an environment
Which
like
actually
that.
throws you off more because you're so used to
Yeah.
like being, at least we are, being responded to with a sort of judgment, you know, and like
Yeah.
these
Right.
loaded questions.
That the kids don't have that. And
right.
so when they ask questions, I'm like, oh, wow. Okay.
So I can just answer this, and you're not going to tell me I should stop doing this, right?
Yeah.
Yesterday we got like a shipment of different lubricants for us to take a look at, and my oldest daughter saw that one of them had CBD. So the oldest daughter is 20, and you know we were saying like, oh yeah, they come with CBD now, and you know we got to kind of see if this product is good or sound. And
Yeah.
she goes, oh wow, that sounds cool. You guys are gonna use them? Like you're gonna use, like they sent like 3 bottles, and she's like, you're gonna use it? Like, and we were like,
Uh,
yeah. I just said to her, you know, I have some other packets that if you'd like to try, I'll leave them for you. You know, we're very supportive of her having a healthy
yeah.
sexual lifestyle and behavior, but like asking us if we're gonna use all of our CBD lube because you want dibs on it, like, no, I don't know that I want to have that conversation with you or anybody else. Like, you know, staking out my sex toy drawer.
Yeah. No, I mean,
That's
we
not
have
okay.
different areas of our house that are set up as like, you know, studio areas. And there's this one area where like the lights and everything are permanently set up. And there's a kind of a plush like couch on there. And it was funny because the other day, our little one like came in and he just turned 4, but he comes in and he likes to lay on that felt couch, especially if he gets out of the bath because it's like soft, you know? So he comes out of the bath totally naked. He lies on the felt couch and then it looks like he's posing, you know, almost like laying out, you know, on this couch. And we were laughing. And then our teenager was like, oh, look, Mom, he's going to be like you. I was like, geez, what does that even mean? He was just joking like about modeling, but it's interesting that we've like come to this place that that's so like normal in our life.
It's a beautiful thing, you know, and even if, you know, the way that we've normalized our work is if you were sitting at a desk and your little one jumped up at the desk and pretended to use the computer, everyone would say like, oh, look at him working just like mommy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
like, for sex workers, even like we're talking about this very innocent thing, like my daughters we wear the same shoes and same shoe size and clothes size. Sometimes they'll have like on my stilettos or thigh highs and they're, you know, like prancing
Yeah.
around. And if I were a backup dancer for Madonna or Beyonce or something like that, it would be nothing. It would be like, oh, wow, look at her. She's going to follow in her mom's
Yeah.
footsteps. But for sex workers, it's like, oh, God, get her out of it. You know, and it's
Right.
just, I always tell them, if you're going to be like, you're never going to be like me. You're going to be better than mommy, whatever it is that you decide to do.
Yeah.
Because that's
Yeah.
our goal, right? It's like we don't want our kids to be just like us or just like anyone. We want them to be the best version of themselves.
Of
with our
themselves.
support.
Yeah. Yeah.
Word.
Yeah. No, I think you're totally right, though, because there was totally no judgment in that. He's like, oh, he's posing on a velvet couch. That's what mom does. You know, like, totally made sense. Yeah. Well, is there anything you guys are working on right now or any projects? Well, you were talking, King, a little bit about a project you're working on right now.
We are working on a documentary film. We have a working title of Pleasure Principles, but it's gonna be something that is a full film that we're gonna be getting into film festivals because we
Nice.
want to show the work that goes into creating adult films. We also have started our own company called Black Excellence, where we are going to be managing people's careers and helping people get into the industry because there are a lot of people in the Black and Brown community and just marginalized communities in general where, like, you know, I want to do sex work, I want to be in the adult industry, but I do not want to have to live as a caricature of who I am or some kind of stereotype in
Yeah.
order to
Right.
be successful. So we're gonna help people navigate that career and get to those spaces and hopefully connect people with other people, both in front of and behind the camera, in front of and behind the computer screen, that will be able to make that happen. And that goes from like, creating our own SEO tags to, actually educating people and letting them know, what is and what is not okay. And some of these major companies that are out there that do not have any BIPOC people or trans people, on their staff will be able to talk to us about how to actually change that.
Yeah.
We are continuing to go into the new year working closely with BIPOC AIC, which is the Black Indigenous People of Color Adult Industry Collective. Last year, we were heavily supporting the Education and Wellness Committee, and we will continue to provide support, including offering a weekly support group for BIPOC sex workers, as well as continuing to collaborate and partner with Pineapple Support, offering sex workers therapy, and also support groups, doing that once a week as well. And King and I have started over the last, I guess it's been the last year and a half now, being invited to spaces to do some training for therapists and other providers on how to serve our community without causing re-traumatization or traumatization.
Yeah, right.
How to practice as medical providers, mental health providers without perpetuating stigma. So this year we partnered with the Sexual Health Alliance, offering some train the trainer, basically support. And this year we'll be doing some work with the Modern Sex Institute on making sure that sex therapists are not only treating other sex workers fairly and reducing any opportunities for harm, so as much harm reduction in practice as possible, but also opening their lens and perspective about working with people that are not in the industry, but that have alternative, for lack of a better term, lifestyles, who engage in kinks and, or want to have a sex positive family. How do we help these therapists take their judgments and either work with them or lock them and lock them down and keep them away from hurting other people? So yeah, that's what we're doing.
Wow.
Also a new album called Adult Entertainment.
Yes. And we have some new toys coming out too.
New album, Adult Entertainment. Yeah, Jasmine has, can we say what you have coming?
We can.
Jasmine has an insertable toy. Would it be, well, you can insert yourself in it. Yeah. And you can also insert it in you.
Yes.
Oh, wow.
So it's an insertable, penetratable.
It's a double-edged sword.
Yeah, that sounds good.
That's wild. I don't think I've seen something like that before.
Wait, no, you can't get into a sword.
My sword you can.
Oh, shit.
Yeah.
And then also variations on the King Noire dildo. New scenes for Royal Fetish XXX.com.
Yeah, we're gonna have to fuck in between some of these projects, you know?
Yep, all of that.
Okay. So yeah.
Wow.
Well, that is a lot of exciting things and also a lot of really important things that we're very appreciative that you're doing all this important work in the industry.
Yeah, and this was really fun. It was great to talk to you. So where can people find you?
RoyalFetishXXX.com, King Noire XXX.com, Jet Set Jasmine.
On all things.
On all things.
Yes.
At KINGNOIRE on all things that I'm not shadow banned.
Right. Well, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us for yet another episode of the Peepshow podcast. I'm PJ Sage, and you can find me on Twitter at PeepSage.
And I'm Jessie Sage, and you can find me on Twitter at sapiotextual or at jessiesage.com.
We would like to remind you that we have a Patreon account and would appreciate your support. Please visit patreon.com/peepshowpodcast. Our music is courtesy of Joe Kennedy. The show was produced by Jessie and PJ Sage.
Signing off. Have a great week.